Hi, this is Chris from the Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from Political Voices Network.
But
I mean, all we can say is Stormy Daniels was telling the truth about size. I mean, that's clear at this point.
I know. Anyway, the whole thing, it's just, but the fact that this audience was laughing. It's
awful human beings.
Right.
And I think that's what's scary is it shows us more where his base is going than it does about CNN.
Yeah.
They really are deplorable people.
Yeah, like
Hillary
as I
was
said
right
earlier, Dana, none of them have daughters, wives, sisters, anybody that's ever been. I mean, they're just like that. It's funny now to be smirking about sexual assault. Anyway, how about this one? Chris, who said the Presidential Records Act is not criminal? I took the documents. I'm allowed to. You know who else took them? Obama took them. Nixon took them. Reagan took them. Who said that?
Pebbles Flintstone.
No, that would be Mango Mussolini, who once again was lying. Okay. It is not true. Past presidents took documents after they left office. As NARA itself pointed out in a statement in 2022, NARA was granted custody of the presidential records of former presidents, beginning with Ronald Reagan, as soon as those presidents left office, as required by the Presidential Records Act. In addition, it was NARA, not those presidents, that moved those documents out of the nation's capital to NARA-managed temporary archival facilities near where their permanent presidential libraries would be built. I mean, Dana, this is, it was what we thought it would be. Lie after lie after lie after lie. And it shouldn't have happened in the first place. But, I get Caitlin Collins tried to push back on some of it. But, she's put in this lion's den of people booing her and cheering and laughing at everything Trump says. I mean, it's just.
And with all due respect, if you look at the history of her, she started at Fox News. This isn't necessarily an upstanding journalist from the beginning. She peddled a lot of lies and anti-Semitism at the beginning of her career. So I'm not surprised that they put her in this position. CNN is leaning more right, and none of this surprises me at this point. Did she do the best she could? Okay. She shouldn't have accepted that position in the first place.
Yeah. It just was a disgrace, top to bottom.
And she didn't do the best she could if she didn't push back against infanticide. He said they're killing babies.
Yeah.
I mean, that is an easily fact-checkable point in that moment. So to come back and be like, oh, she had a hard job, she did the best she could. There was a couple of points just as a human being you could have been like, I don't think that's true.
And can we just clarify this once and for all? This is in the very extreme, very rare case of the health of the survival of the mother. This is not, women change their minds at 9 months old, or Democrats want to kill baby. I mean, it's such a ridiculous, disingenuous debate, right?
Right. That's one of the things where I'm like, don't give her as much props as she got. And they set her up. CNN knew what they were doing. If they wanted to make Trump look like this, and they're like, oh, we did exactly how we thought this was going to turn out, I don't buy it.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of the E. Jean Carroll trial, her attorney, Robbie Kaplan, who's fantastic.
And a lesbian.
I was going to say, and a lesbian. Can you talk a little bit as, not just a lesbian, but one of America's top 5 funniest lesbians?
Yes.
On how crushed she must have been when Donald Trump turned to her and said, by the way, I wouldn't you either. Can you imagine?
You're not my type either. I would have been like, great. That's what I was going for in front of the jury, actually. I just wanted to get that clear on the record.
And also, I just got 40% gayer. Thank you.
I mean, listen, Robbie Kaplan is an incredible lawyer, but when he was talking about the Bush tape, in the bus, he handed them this case.
By the way, Dana Goldberg meant Billy Bush. That's what she meant, not the
the Bush.
Yeah, she didn't mean. She meant Billy Bush. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, continue.
Not everyone thinks I'm like you, Stephanie Miller.
Yeah.
Please continue, as Barack Obama would say. Please.
Oh, I'm done.
Oh, are you?
No, I want Trump to testify in every single case. He has to, because he will inevitably incriminate himself eventually during his testimony. It was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, one legal analyst said they absolutely can use stuff from last night on January 6th, that was the closest he came to basically admitting that, he sent them January 6th. It was a beautiful day.
Love in their heart. And I'll tell you what, Biden's campaign within an hour had a new ad up based on those lies and the footage running simultaneously next to each other. At least they're on it. At least they're on it right now.
Yeah. But I mean, I was saying the segment that's in at least that audience, they just don't care. They're like cheering, default. Like that's not going to affect them. Like it's just, it really is extraordinary, the degree to which. Yeah.
It's like it honestly, and this from doing stand up, it's like being an audience and watch an audience laugh at a hack comic who's being transphobic and homophobic. And you're like, why are these people find this amusing? And I think it's the lowest common denominator of our society.
Yeah.
I truly think what people laugh at is a reflection of their intelligence. And I know some people would argue that, but it is. And these people think that making fun of a woman who was sexually assaulted by the president of the United States at one point is laughable. It is a reflection on his base.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go to Tim in Minneapolis. You are on with Dana. Hi, Tim.
Hi. So Trump, being a convicted sexual offender, shouldn't he have to register and go door to door like Jesus and the Big Lebowski?
No. This was a civil trial. You only have to register after a criminal trial.
See, he's Tim.
Yeah,
Chris is here to.
That would be so sweet.
Chris is here to ruin all our fun.
I'm here to yuck your yum.
Blocker. Yeah, you're here to yuck my yum.
Sorry.
That'd be fantastic if he had it right, and like people that came up on your app where he is. Right?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
on.
That'd be rough on Secret Service.
Yeah.
Chris, yucking everybody's yum since 2004.
Sorry.
Tom in Florida. You're on with Dana.
Hi, Stephanie. I talked to you the other day. This was back when we were voting, and you kind of had to get back to Carlos before I could finish my point.
Oh, okay.
Which was the police. I stayed in the house, in the building until the police showed up. And it was just one deputy sheriff, and apparently those were his buddies.
Oh, you're finishing a story you started yesterday, so we don't know the first half of it. But okay, how does it?
Yeah, well, I went and they tried to ask me who I was going to vote for. I told them wasn't any of their.
Oh, that's right. And you said it's none of your business, which was a fantastic story.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Right.
Okay.
So, but anyway, the thing was I went out, when the police came, I went out there, and these guys were showing each other's guns off to each other. The cop was showing. I couldn't believe it. And they wanted to search my van. And I said, now listen, I have a registered pistol in there in a safe. I have the legal right to carry it. I have a permit and everything. And they just tore my van to pieces. Found my gun and told I can't remember. I got so flustered at that point.
All right. Well, Tom, thank you. All right. Thank you.
That's what we're up against.
I got you. I hear you.
Yes,
thank you for the end of that story that started yesterday. Okay, which is good that Dana, the point of it is someone tried to harass him going in to vote and said, who you voting for? And he said, none of your business, which is what you do, right? Don't be intimidated. Thank you, Tom.
Well, it's actually against the law, so I'm glad that he, if you would, stood his ground, as apparently they're trying to fight for in many
Stand
states.
your voting ground. Exactly.
Stand your voting ground.
Right? Okay. All right. Here's the president who does not think worldwide financial catastrophe would be funny.
Let's be clear. The debt we're talking about is accumulated over 200 years. The last administration alone, the last guy who served in this office for 4 years, increased the total national debt by 40% in just 4 years. Over the last decade, the single largest contribution to the debt, aside from the pandemic, were the Trump tax cuts skewed to the wealthy and large corporations for $2 trillion. I made it clear, America is not a deadbeat nation. We pay our bills.
Yeah, Donald Trump's bills, specifically, from his tax cut. One more, the president.
And I was pleased, but not surprised by the Republican leader in the United States Senate, McConnell, who said after the meeting in the White House, and he went to the press, he said, the United States is not going to default. It never has, and it never will. We shouldn't even be talking about it. And folks, Republicans in Congress used to understand this. In fact, under the previous president, Republicans voted to avoid default 3 times. This is not your father's Republican Party, though.
Yeah, that's what I was saying the moment that I just happened to tune in for when, she said to Trump, you said this must never happen. When you were president, we must never default. And he just smirked. He's like, I'm not president now. First of all, it's the first time I think he's admitted he lost. But secondly,
no kidding.
It's just, and everybody laughed like, ha ha ha. I mean, it's just like admitting you are an anti-American economic terrorist, right?
We've all known that. We've seen that. He's been a Russian puppet since the beginning. He's not an America first guy. Yeah. He just isn't. He's a Donald Trump first guy, and he's a Putin second.
Yep.
In that order may change on any given day.
Yes.
Republicans say they won't cut Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. But can honest, hard-working middle-class Americans really believe what these politicians say? Republicans said they wouldn't overturn Roe v. Wade. Here's what Supreme Court Justices Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Coney Barrett said during their Senate confirmation hearings.
Roe v. Wade, it is a precedent of the United States Supreme Court. A good judge will consider it as precedent of the United States Supreme Court.
Roe v. Wade. It's settled as a precedent of the Supreme Court.
Roe is not a super precedent, but that doesn't mean that Roe should be overruled.
Well, we saw how that turned out. They played us for fools. Tell your elected officials to keep their hands off of our Social Security and health care benefits. Fool me once. Let Majority Rule was responsible for this message. LetMajorityRule.org is a project of the Marvin Lucas Super PAC, which is responsible for and paid for this ad and is not affiliated with or authorized by any political campaign or candidate or candidates committee.